you actually mentioned to me in the car yesterday that you disagree with my views on PUA. Mm-hmm. And you had an argument on that.
I didn't have an argument. I had an observation on that because I think that you disagree with PUA because you think that it's inauthentic of the techniques that are taught. But yet, like I heard you talk with Myron when you're talking about like going out and trying to get blown out as much as possible, right? It's like you make a game out of it. You go out in the clubs, you try to collect as many rejections as possible, and there's a reason for that. It's like sort of the method to the madness. Is that you're doing that to sort of get out of your headspace of what's called outcome dependency.
Right.
And that is something that the old like Mystery, Venusian Arts, RSD, all those guys used to do back in the day. And so you're thinking about this and you're going, oh, I hate those PUAs, but they did exactly a lot of the same things that come naturally to you. Right. But I think what your problem is like, it seems like they're coming from a place of disingenuousness instead of like, okay, you can own this because you actually have you're all hat and no cattle, right? You have the cattle, right? So, but they don't, and they have a hat. And so it seems like it's disingenuous because they're aping the behaviors of a guy who authentically can, go out there and get the shit done, right? So it's fake it till you make it. And it's okay. Fake it till you make it, but make sure you make it.
I don't like putting game before coming a better man. And another thing that gives Rolo a special light on the subject is he has an access to my cell phone like nobody else.
Secrets no one knows. I know, and not just you, by the way, a lot of other people too. So
he sees certain things that come through when we're around each other.
Trust me, there's been so many things I've wanted to do, like as far as like do shows and not to like rat you out or anything, but like to like proof of concept kind of thing.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I don't want to run anybody up the flagpole, but I really want to do a show on like dark game or something like that.
Yeah.
But as far as like game is concerned,
in the future,
I want to put this out there too, because it's sort of like part of that subject is that I think a lot of guys who are naturals have a problem with guys trying to run game or teach game because there's a lack of authenticity. You don't actually have it's like having a credit card, but it's already maxed out and you're still trying to use it kind of thing, right? So you have the ability to go and run game, but you're not really you're not the top G, right? You're not actually the guy who has the legitimacy behind it like that. By the way, anytime I talk about Tate and I use the word or the letter O, I can't help but go, but it's authenticity, and a lot of guys have a real problem with that because it seems like they're using my behavior set to get the chicks that I want, and I really have the real background, and I've got the goods because I'm really a high value guy, and these guys are aping the behavior sets of what I would do, but they ain't got the shit to back it up, but I actually do, but they're still they don't care, got laid, so. I think that's the problem that a lot of guys have with it.
It's not an ego thing for me, or I don't think it's an ego thing for me or Andrew or Tristan. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm too busy actually getting women to go teach about how to get women online. Mm-hmm. My problem is I feel like it's an unhealthy place for a young man to start his relationship with women because it's basically manipulating her into a lie. And the lie is that you're of some sort of value. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's unhealthy for a guy.
There's a chapter in my first book. It's called Dream Girls and Children with Dynamite. And I ruthlessly stole that line from an old school guy named Ross Jeffries. And he had one quote or something in the book called The Game, which was by Neil Strauss. And he was concerned that what Mystery and the rest of these guys teaching game were doing was giving dynamite to children. Because guys would take the game and learn how to get the chicks that they could never get access to. And they were successful. It worked. But then once they got into a relationship with those women, it blew up in their face because you give them the keys to the car, the Lamborghini, and they don't know how to drive a Lamborghini. They have it. They've got the keys. They got the car. But when they get in the car and they drive at 200 miles per hour, they flip the car and it explodes. That's all these guys would use game to get their dream girls. Once they got the hottest girl they could ever get, they would get suicidal because they couldn't turn that girl into their perfect little idealized blue pill housewife as a result of that. And so therefore they would get despondent, nihilistic, and in Mystery's case, even suicidal. So in that respect, I completely agree with you. It's like you have to have a good learning. It's like you watch The Karate Kid, and Mr. Miyagi is like he's teaching Daniel-san, wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off, and like so he goes for weeks and weeks and maybe a month or so, like he's doing wax on, wax off, and he's like, when are you going to teach me karate? And he's like, okay. He throws a punch in, wax on, wax off. He always had to do it in those. He was teaching him muscle memory at that time. He didn't realize the theory that was going behind that. He was just teaching motor function, motor memory, and muscle memory, right? And so he didn't realize he was actually learning karate, the basic moves of karate, just by doing wax on, wax off, right? Well, the thing is wax on, wax off is the practice of game. It's like doing this stuff. But the karate aspect is the red pill side of things. And each side of that is incomplete without the other. So if all you're doing is wax on, wax off, and you never learn karate, then all you're doing is learning just this muscle memory. You don't never put one, 2 and 2 together. If all you're learning is reading a book about karate and you're never stepping in the ring to practice karate, then you're all theory and no game. So one is incomplete without the other. And so when you don't have that background and that learning aspect of it, you're going to get your ass kicked when you get into the ring with somebody who knows what the fuck they're doing.
And that's my point, I guess, on the whole subject is like, these guys, they can go learn pickup, let's say, but without educating themselves on female nature, they're in trouble. And without hitting the weight room and becoming big and strong, and then they go get in that ring, they're gonna get the fucking shit beat out of them. And I think that's what happens to guys that do pickup and pickup only. Not only are they only learning how to talk smooth to the girl, but in no way are they educated or qualified on how to retain her and set frame up correctly.
And they will get despondent and depressed as a result of that. Because now they got the hottest chick they've ever got, and they're like, how do I make her love me?
And we told 2 stories about 2 guys that took bullets to the head over that themselves, or one hung himself and one shot himself. So like, I feel like it should be very important for young men to understand that, yes, I can learn how to pick a woman up through PUA, but for God's sakes, I better understand female nature, and I better become the type of man that makes decisions based off dating women in my motherfucking league. And so if I want hotter women, I need to get in a bigger league, a higher league. I need to develop myself, because if not, you're going to have some fucking nerdy dude who learned a bunch of manipulative bullshit trick a 10 into dating him, and she's going to throw it on his ass, and he's going to think they're in love forever. And the next thing you know, he's jumping off the side of this fucking building.
Either that, or he's going to get a sexual assault. He turns into a creep because he's not who she thought he was, which is women hate a liar. And the reason why they hate a liar is because they have so much at stake in the reproductive game. Because if they get with a guy who she thinks is an alpha, and later he turns into a beta simp afterwards, she goes, oh my God, I just had sex with a guy who I could get pregnant by, who I thought was an alpha, and it turns out that he's actually a beta. And that's what really, that's because we base rape charges on that. You're not who you presented yourself to be. You're not actually a lawyer. You're actually a sandwich artist at Subway. And I wouldn't have had sex with you had I known that, because, I want to get with a lawyer, right? And so as a result, I wouldn't have given you consent to have sex with me had I known you were a sandwich artist rather than the lawyer that you told me you were last night at the club, right?
And now I regret it.
And now I regret it. And here comes the suit, right? Okay, so that's number one. And I agree with you on that, on those terms. I would also say that, and I've said this on several different occasions, is that game is the practice, red pill is the theory, and each one is incomplete without the other. Now, the other part of this is we just talk about money, muscles, and game, right? Get yourself in the gym, start being a fat ass, get your money on point, get your game, your social skills, you can call it game, whatever you want, get your social skills on point. And the confluence of all 3 of those things is the frame. It becomes the world into which that woman wants to enter because she sees you have money, you have maximized your potential, right?
Foundation.
Now, here's what I just have sort of been thinking about, and I think I might even write an essay about this. I can finally get back to my blog, right? There are synergies between those 3. So if you are, most guys, when they come into this stuff, they're like, okay, I don't have a lot of money, I don't have a lot of game, but I'm a looks maxer, and I'm going to live in the gym, and I'm going to do nothing but focus on my body because I think that it's all about looks, and that's all I'm going to focus on. And they might be able to attract the chick, but they can't keep the girl because they're like, ooh, they go stumble over themselves, and they don't know what to say. They can't carry on a conversation. They have no social skills, and they've got no money, but they're great to look at, and they might get laid once in a while, but they're not getting what it is that they want out of a chick, right? So then there's the guys who go, okay, I'm fat as fuck and I don't have any social skills, but I got a shit ton of money, and I really think that it's all just about money, and that's all that women care about, and it's all a transaction. I'm just gonna fuck prostitutes or whatever it is, or the closest approximation of that. And I'm gonna focus and gross out on just the money side. Or I'm just going to gross out on game because I don't think it's money or muscles per se. But if I'm just one smart, suave motherfucker and I'm funny and I make her laugh, then that's going to get me in there as well. And I'm going to gross out on that. I'll say that each one of those is sort of it's a lopsided approach to what amounts to frame, to the collective of those. Now, here's what happens. When you tell a guy, like, you're a fat fuck, get in the gym. What happens is that guy gets into the gym. He starts, like, after 6 months, he loses some weight, he puts on some muscle mass and everything else. He starts to look better, and he starts to get social interactions and reward of attention and sexual attention of women who say, oh, he's looking good right now. Oh, he's got a six pack. Oh, he's got his lats are looking better, whatever it is. What that does is it affects his social situation at that point. So the synergistically, the rewards that he's getting in one area should affect the other areas as well. So if he gets a promotion at work, or he figures out a side hustle that makes him more money, synergistically speaking, that gives him more confidence in those other two areas.
I think
so those synergies play off the other. That's why I keep saying, like, it can't just be about, okay, get your money on point. Don't chase women, chase excellence, right? Okay, well, you get your money. If that means money, then what should happen as a result of that is it should affect those other two areas of your life as well. And if it's not, you need to find a way to make them synergistically work together. And I hate to even use the word synergy, but it's true. There are effects, downstream effects of focusing on any of those that affect the other two that you're working on. So I think looking at it in terms of a total package, money, muscles, and game, don't chase just excellence, chase physical, ability, and chase game at the same time, and build all of those synergistically together, so that when you get to the point where you have built yourself up and you look completely body transformation, and you're ripped and you're down to body fat percentage or whatever, that at the same time, you've also done pretty well for yourself money-wise, and as a result, your social situation has changed, and therefore you have a different opinion of yourself. You're going to start manifesting different behaviors because you feel better first, because of the physical aspects. You've got money, so you legitimately got something behind it, and you have the social skills behind that as well. That's why I say, when we focus on, don't focus on girls, just focus on this excellence here. No, focus on all three, and not to the exception of any one, because you'll find that when you excel in one of those, it will have effects on the other two.
I completely agree. That's why I always talk about buckets. It's like filling up buckets, and sometimes a bucket can overflow. Your physical appearance can overflow where it's worth not as much anymore. Like, you can max it out if you're broke, or if you make a whole bunch of money, the money can max out because you haven't taken care of game, or you're a simp, or you're overweight. So I completely agree to that. And I think that the more guys recognize that that's the foundational thing that allows you to be confident in the first place, which makes actual PUA easier. It's so much easier to approach and speak to a woman with confidence and directness and self-amusement when you already are secure in who you are as a man.
Again, in my 5th book, Player's Handbook, I talk about amused mastery, which is a PUA technique, right? It's so much easier to default to amused mastery if you actually have the mastery, if you actually legitimately have the experience and you are legitimately amused by that kind of stuff.
And abundant.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm dealing with girls who are like 19, 20, 25 years old down at Fresh and Fit, and it's easy for me to slip into amused mastery because I really have the skills and I have the backup, and it's like, yeah, I know where you're going with this, darling. I realize what you think. Let me explain some things to you, and you're legitimately amused and you're legitimately masterful. So that's the authenticity part of it. Can you fake that? Yeah, you can fake that. But it's so much easier and so much better if you actually have the backup for it.